We got everybody at least here? Anybody not here?
Anybody not get this?
Thank you.
All right, so usually how I come in is I just click here on online assignment templates. And that will bring you to, for you, it's not going to look anything like this. You probably have like a blank screen for the most part, yes? Well, I have like 100 of these. And that's why it just looks like this, okay? So if you're wanting to start one from scratch, we all do essentially the same thing. I'm going to go over here to where yours looks, and it's got add. That's all we're going to do right now. Just click on add. So you should all come up with a screen that looks like this, that kind of asks for a few different details. I'm sorry?
Add filter or add?
Yeah, it doesn't.
You're not getting that, huh? You're getting something else?
Add filter.
Okay. So if this is the first time that you have ever tried this, it's going to come up with something that says add filter. Go ahead and click apply filter. And then that should get you to what we had before. Or to what I had before. Is that right? You have the screen?
No, I just click on apply filter.
Right. Okay, so that's good. So if you extend the screen a little bit, you'll see the add part.
Oh, there we go. Thanks.
Yep.
And I'll click on that?
Yep. And then everybody's here. Give your test, your assessment, your assignment, whatever it is, just give it a name. I've got an assignment that I've got to give tomorrow. I actually have to create it. I'm going to do part of that with you here today. One thing that I do for this is the first word I put up is the content area. The reason for that is everything that you create here is visible to everyone else in the district. The reason for that is if I create a Spanish assignment, another Spanish teacher in another school or even in my school can look at that and go, that's exactly what I want. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to use it. But they have to be able to find it. And so that's why I name it Spanish first. That way people can sort through it a little bit easier. It kind of gives it a keyword search for them. Possessive adjectives. Oops. Okay. At this point, it's going to ask you a couple of different things. This description, completely unnecessary, unless you want to put one in there. Okay? For the most part, just by the name, you're going to know what that test is or what that assignment is. If you are going to do a courtesy to everyone else in the district and put a description in there, great. I think I did this once, and I never have again. Because people can really look at it if they think that it's something they might use. The default points per question. This is kind of up to you. I've almost always left this as 1. If you're somebody that is only doing essays, you may want to change that. You may say, I'm going to give 4 essay questions on this, and each of them is going to be worth 5 points. I'm going to change the default to 5. Regardless of what you set the default points per question to, each and every question can be a different number of points. This is not locking you into any set number of points per question. Okay? It's going to ask you if you want to randomize questions. There are a couple of reasons why you might, a couple of reasons why you might not. The structure in my classroom is such that I have tables where there are 2 children sitting next to each other at all times. So when I give one of these, it's very easy for one of them to look 2 feet to the left and they can see what's on somebody else's screen. The advantage to randomized questions is the likelihood that the kid next to them is on the same problem that they're on is almost 0. So that helps in that regard. The other thing is that when the kids actually have their computers open, they tend to turn the display brightness down to conserve energy for the whole day. The kid next to him actually does have a difficult time seeing that anyway. Now when I do it, sometimes I have them turn it up so I know that they're all where they're supposed to be and not on some other website. But randomize will kind of, for the most part, negate any cheating they might want to do off of each other. This auto score and post to the gradebook is a really nice feature. If you only do multiple choice and true false, only those two, you can give this assignment to them, they complete it, you are done. It will grade it for you, and it will automatically put that score into the gradebook. As soon as you assign it, which is something we'll do in maybe 20 minutes or so, and they go in and complete it, it's done. It's out of your hands. You can go back in there and change a grade if you feel it's necessary in the gradebook, but this will do most of the work for you if you only want to do multiple choice and true false. The show correct answers is kind of a misnomer. It makes it sound like as they're taking the test, they get to see the right answers. What happens is when you grade the test and put it into the gradebook, afterwards they can view their results. It will show them, here's the answer that you selected, here is the correct answer. But that's after you have gone through, put it in the gradebook. They can't change anything. Okay? I always turn that on just so that they can go, oh, okay, now I get why I did wrong, what I did wrong. And the questions per page is another thing that's up to you. Personally, I never go above 5. The reason being when I try and grade it, if I do that, it gets difficult to see all of the questions all at once. And I kind of prefer to see everything at once and then just click next page. So I never go above 5. I've never gone below 3. But that's up to you. So for me, when I'm giving this test tomorrow, it's only going to be short answer. I am going to randomize the questions because it doesn't matter to me the order in which they do this. I cannot do this one. I want to do short answers, so I'm not going to click that. I'm going to ask them to show correct answers afterwards. At this point, I'm going to click Save and Add Questions, and this is where we actually begin to build our test. Have I gone too fast? Have I covered too much at once? Okay. So let's all do that. Save and Add Questions. The default for this is always they assume the first thing that you want is a multiple choice question. The way that you change that is simply to click on it, and it will give you all of your choices. Do you want true, false? Do you want short answer? Do you want essay? Okay? I'm just going to move this out. I'm going to... I might zoom this down a little bit. So I'm going to let you kind of work with your first question. Yes, sir. You will never have to do that.
Never have it, so we go right to add. Just put it.
It should go, that means the first time it needs to know, who do you want to see? We only want to see you at the
So I
beginning.
won't do that because it knows.
Should not
So
do
should we
that.
say add, right? next time?
You should just come up with the test that you create today.
Okay,
You'll
cool.
see that.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So I'm going to change mine over to short answer. If you're already otherwise engaged, go ahead.
Mark,
Yes.
if it's not already created on your desktop, you just download it into this format, and you have to go in manually and do everything.
You have to go in manually. That is the one kind of shortfall of this, is that there's no way to import something and have it spit back out at you the test.
Copied it and then pasted it?
Oh, I've done that. In fact, what I
Look at me coming up with school.
What I will often do is have another screen open of the stuff I want to go in, copy, paste it. But you do have to do it per question, if that makes
But
sense.
still, it's easier.
Sure. So my quiz is on possessive adjectives in Spanish. So I'm trying to get them to understand that in Spanish, your possessive adjective actually changes based on the noun that you're using, which is probably more grammar than you ever really want to hear. But so I'm actually going to add a couple of different answers that are correct here. The real true answer is nuestras casas, okay? But I might say I'm going to give them all the points if they merely put in nuestras. The reason I'm doing this is if they don't write exactly one of these, it counts it wrong. You can go in and fix that, but I think you'll find if you think about all the actual potential answers that you would accept for full credit and put them in here, it makes grading and scoring a lot easier on you. Okay? I found this out the hard way. Because I would grade someone's test and go, oh, I would accept that. But then for each kid, then I had to change that guy. Okay, so my experience has been is that it's not case sensitive. I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like I'm pretty 95% that if they were to write this in, even if I didn't list it as an answer, it'd be all right. And in fact, I'm not sure that it's actually catching accent marks either, which for me is a little troubling. But so then the nice thing about this is that once I've completed the answers that I say are correct, and I say, okay, I'm ready to go on to the next one, I'll just click Save and Add Another. It then assumes you just did short answer. That's probably what you want to continue with. All right? So it does that. You guys think you're at a point where you can kind of work for about 5 to 10 minutes on the stuff that you have here? I'm going to be walking around either way. You ready to try that? Or no? Okay. I'm going to put a little timer up here just so you know kind of where you are. You can. Here's what you do. So here's how you do a match. If you put up, like on your screen, the list of possible answers, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, 13. Okay, so if you were to project that onto your screen using your Alma, and then for each question, you just wrote whatever the question was, and then you wrote A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way down. Then, and you just select which one is actually correct based on this criteria. You can make it work. Does that make sense? The trick with what I see you have here is that you have 13 of these. And you're going to go down to J. You are able to split that. So in other words, if you're able to take this and say, for numbers 1 through 7, look at these. You could. Yeah. Oh yeah, Word is a little tricky.
Oh, is it Word? So if I did it in pages?
I think in pages it would be okay. Can I see the Word document?
Oh my God.
What if you had one word? See if that works. Yeah, for some reason it assumes that you're trying to right, in the HTML code. Try Pages. I haven't tried doing that necessarily, but I would try Pages and see where that takes you. Yeah. Everybody? Anyone else with sign-in sheets?
Still works, I just.
I do not. I just say, they all know, based on how often I've done this, hey, here it is in English, you have to write it. So, for the multiple choice, all you have to do is say, well, write it, write it out. Of course, which strokes, and they have to pick the exact right one. The one trick is you gotta make sure that the correct one is correct.
Okay. Yeah, so you click on it.
Click on that one that's correct. That's in short answers.
Oh,
So,
I'm sorry, short answer.
so you're a multiple choice, and that's fine. If you go here to short answer, then you can essentially emulate that. Yeah. Right. I only did it because last year our roommate was with Jenny. She was always talking about it, so I was seeing it all the time. Yeah. So solve each equation. 2 divided by 5y equals 10. As long as your students can understand what that means, there is no way in Skyward to make it look to an actual. They can look at that and go, I understand what you mean.
That is not a
I realize that I failed to mention a couple of things about the other possible formats of the question. So multiple choice, of course, you still put your question in the same way. You put as many, I gotta recalibrate this. Put in as many answers as you like. Do make sure that you remember to click over here, whichever one is correct.
Oh, I haven't been in that.
Okay, make sure, okay, so you can do that if you do save and back. It will take you back to the list of questions. So if I click save and back now, it will bring up this question here, and I go, oh, I need to change something about that. I've made a mistake. You highlight it, you click edit, and now you can go back and do whatever you needed to do. I found out the hard way, again, I forgot to say which answer was actually correct. And then all of my students either got everything right or everything wrong. I was like, well, there's no way that happened. But so you do have to make sure that you're clicking those. And every once in a while you may miss one. Oh, I missed that. And the kids will take it. It's not catastrophic. You can still fix that. Let me come out of here. Then, of course, the other two kinds of questions are true-false, which is simply you ask a question and you tell it which one. Is it true or is it false? And finally, there's an essay. They get a whole bunch of characters that they can use, or excuse me, a whole bunch of space to write. You can't see it here, but your question just goes there. This is where you can say, well, the default points per question was 1, but on an essay, that's rarely the case. You can go in and say, no, for this, I actually need this to be 8, or whatever you want. you can change that. I'm sorry to have interrupted your work time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you do the short answer
Mhm.
and you type in like your answer or
Sure.
let's say if they wrote like a short like one question response, as long as they have the keywords in their response, will it work it correct?
It needs to have exactly whatever you wrote.
Okay.
So
So like let's say the answer is CASA. So if they type in the answer is CASA, like if they have that
it
word
would
in
mark
it,
it wrong.
it has to be word for word.
But because it's short answer, it would force you to go in and grade it.
Okay.
It would pop up in red, and I'll show you what that
Okay.
looks like, and you could go, no, that's actually right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not as complicated as yours.
Sure.
But when I get to here, like for instance, okay, money ones,
Mhm.
it doesn't include the dollar sign, SOL.
That depends on how you set it up. If you,
Well, I want the money in there, the answer is 51.30, so I would like $51.30.
right, so what you could do is say, I will accept 51.30 without the dollar sign. Or you could say, no, it has to be there. And then as you graded it, it would alert you to, they missed this one. You could look at it and then go, oh, well, all they missed is the dollar sign, they can have partial credit.
Well, I can also, they also don't include the 0, 51.3, which is also correct.
That's up to you. You could say, you could add that to your list of possible correct answers instead of.
I could have 50 possible answers.
Mark?
Yep.
So like on the multiple choice, I'm
Mhm.
giving the correct answer,
Okay.
and then I'm giving options that are gonna correct also.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So you have to attach them all though?
You have to what? No. That is if you want to add like an image. I've never used it. Do you want more time to keep working?
Do we have it?
Absolutely. I don't want to stop people while they're really going on this.
Oh, actually, fantastic.
Oh, the upside down question mark?
Question 2.
Oh.
No, working on question 1 to fix it. Where do I start?
Okay, so then, if you went back, all you gotta do is hit add.
Keep adding.
I heard that.
So this add means add a test.
It just add me.
That add means add a question.
Okay, cool.
Oh, okay, so I cannot write the question like this? It has to be one by one?
Right,
Oh, okay.
Do one at a time and keep adding.
Oh, I get it.
So one thing I would,
Okay.
yep, one thing I might say to you is this, that if your student doesn't put in y equals space 25, it's gonna mark it wrong. So you might consider just 25. You might consider y space equals space 25. That way it'll save you time in grading.
Okay, if I just want to try this one,
I see.
so that I'm just one question.
Right.
Whether it goes or
So now you want to do question 2.
Well, what I want to add one more is, so now.
So go back up, you'll get to task part, and then you'll do save and add another, and I'll give you your next question. All right? We're gonna do that again. Mary was having trouble too getting in. On your computer, you might have trouble. On your laptop.
A lot of these are.
I never grew up, I just got it. I know.
we're still going. Oh, yeah, she worked there, so.
Has it done this for quite a while now?
There is some work as opposed to the other ones.
So if you wanted a picture in there, I've never used it. I've heard a couple of people say they have actually work. I'm not sure. Saying it's done.
Or if you could see what these aren't necessarily threats, these are like a checklist.
I'm afraid you want it.
They have.
She put an assignment on there and didn't tell them. So they didn't check the schedule. Because some of her kids were like, no, going on school too much.
It was great.
Well, so that's the whole point, yeah. Because then the whole point was, as she did, she was responsible.
Wasn't that beautiful?
I'm sure she heard. I'm sure that she heard more than 15 minutes.
I'm not sure actually. This should be working.
That's why I can't. I had a kid cry like that, and I was just. I had one.
I'm gonna have you try and log back in.
So I didn't see
It's there. It's still there. We're gonna have to go back into it, but it's there.
Oh, it's phonetically accurate. But the thing is, thank you for
There's a dividing thing. I can't send you that. Not knowing
So we're gonna go back to that same place. Do you remember which one?
We started in 6. We started, it was the whole freaking.
So this is the one you were, right? Second. And so your questions are still there. So what we'll do is click edit, and now you can add to this, right? And if you need to edit that question, click on it.
Shoot. Oh, sorry, okay.
So what you'll do is you'll click here, click edit, Well, you want it, so like for all of them, there is a way to do that. So for whatever reason. You didn't save the answers. So if you're looking at the whole test, typically what I'll do is I'll click that, and I'm trying to expand all, but I'm trying to expand all the questions, so I'll click that, okay, the answer's there. I'll click here, oh, there are no answers there, so I have to if you choose to let them see their answers, they can pull all that back up. Try to show that. The problem is I can't show what the kids have. All their passwords got locked away.
You can also look at, just check if they made a mistake on the answer.
Sure. Okay, so did you finish this one?
Yeah, just my, the problem. It's right.
So we're going to click Save It Back. And what this will do is close that screen. And then now you've got all your questions here. Okay. And so in order to make sure you have an answer, if you click on this plus, there you go, the answers. It shows your range.
Yeah. Like I'll always do this whole
Click there.
and I'll put like a sailor and
Plus,
like
you've got
55 on the other one. 4.
Okay, I'm sorry. Any
you could
question that you have,
change
if
the
you click on
values
this
of the questions.
plus next to it, shows.
Yeah, try it.
Mhm. So
Okay,
click on that.
because I'm pretty sure
And it will
that's
show you, here's the question, here's the answer.
But then you'll have to get
Question, no time's no fun. Why is it giving me like different font sizes? They were all, they were all the same that I cut and pasted. That's
It will show that way. If you think it's going to be a problem for the kid to read it that way, maybe you'll want to change it, but otherwise, and I would say a lot of times already.
Yeah, she's like, we either read it
Yeah.
so I go German. Oh, no.
All right, so let me do a couple of things because I want you to kind of see what it looks like on the other end when you go and grade it. Okay. So I'm going to be done with this particular test. I'll show you how that looks like. So once you've clicked save and back on your last question, when you've gotten all of your questions done, what you'll click is save and back, and it will bring you back here. This is a screen that each question that you've written will populate down here. All right?
It'll bring you back there. What if you fail to insert the correct answer? Does it alert you?
It will not tell you. Here's how you can check that. So with each question that you see down here, the way to make sure that you've checked your answers is if you click on this plus, it will say, here was your question, here are the answers that you've provided. So you may want to
Double check.
click the plus on each one of those, especially on your first couple times, because I know I forgot so much when I was first doing this. Now it's just very repetitive. I know what I'm doing, but the first couple of times, check this to make sure you've given an answer. Okay? So you're at this screen once you've completed, and even if you haven't completed, just hold your computer right here. Don't do anything, because what I'm about to show you, you can't even do right now. So I'm going to click Save and Back, and what it will show me is, okay, here is the test that you created. It's highlighted. There it is. Okay. The way to then assign this to a class is pretty simple. If I go back into that class, and I can do that any number of ways, I'm just going to go back to class options, or if I click back here, it'll take me back to that. I'm going to go into my gradebook. And so all I'm going to do, like any other assignment, is I'm going to click Add Assignment. Just an FYI, all of this is being recorded right now. I can send the video out to you as well if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up with them, any of that stuff. For me, if it's a quiz, I go in here, I change the category, I put a description in here. This can be the exact same thing as the name of your test. It doesn't have to be. For me, I'm not going to write Spanish at the beginning. I know that Spanish, it's a Spanish class. I'm just going to write possessive adjectives quiz. Okay, I think you know about putting the assigned date, the proposed due date, and that kind of stuff. The way to get this assignment to link to an online assessment or an online assignment is to go over here to options. This is kind of the big part right here. You just got to bring your cursor over onto options and then click copy from my online assignment template. You do that, and then it brings up every test that you've created, or every assignment that you've created. Now, as I have kind of an issue with so many of these, it does help for me to remember, okay, I know that I named it Spanish at the beginning. It will list these in some kind of order, although I haven't been able to figure out exactly what it is. But like all of the Spanish is all together. All the SPAN is all together. So I can kind of find that. So I know that I said Spanish. If anybody sees it, please tell me.
It's on the bottom there, 12.6.1, test 1. No, that
Should say Spanish. There it is. Spanish chapter 2 possessive adjectives. Okay, so here's where the other nice thing about this is that you can check the date created. If you created it today, I believe you can actually ask that to sort it that way. And if I click it twice, it goes, here's the last thing you've created, and then it brings me directly to it. So I'm going to click over here on Clone to Assignment. What this does is it says this assignment is linked to the test you've created, the assignment that you've created online. I do that, and then here's where things get kind of important. I have 3 Spanish classes in 8th grade. Every quiz that I give is the exact same one for each class. They're not getting something different from each other. Because of that, I only want first period kids to be able to take this during first period. I don't want 9th period to be able to take it during first period because those kids are in some other room. And they conceivably could just go on there, and if they didn't know the answers, all they'd have to do is look them up and put them in. Okay? So here's where you got to be careful. This is the testing window. This says this is when the kid is going to be allowed to actually take this assignment. We don't have school for the rest of the day, so I'm going to go to tomorrow. 12/8/11. It automatically defaults now for exactly at midnight all the way up to 11:59 p.m. the next day. Or at the end of the day, excuse me. You have to kind of know when your periods are, what your schedule is, okay? So this is my 7th grade class. I know that I see them from 12:54 p.m. until 1:34 p.m. They can only take this class or take this assignment between those times when I have them in my class, and I know that they're not out somewhere else trying to take this, okay? Down here, it remembers that I said randomize these questions. It remembers that I said show correct answers. It says do not show results until, and it automatically defaults to today at midnight. I don't ever change that because I want the kids to be able to see their results as soon as they are done, which they usually go and do. So if you leave that alone, it will let them see it immediately. If you do not want them to see it until some predetermined time, you will need to change that. If, for example, I said, I don't want them to see this until the end of the day tomorrow because some other kid might have to take it after school with me, I can change that and say, okay, I want this to be 12/8, And I don't want them to be able to see it until 4 o'clock p.m. It may go into the grade book, but they won't be able to view what they did wrong and what they did right. Okay? Yes?
I have a quick question. If a kid's in the middle of or hasn't completed the test yet, and what will happen? Will it automatically shut them off? Because I had kids where I realized I needed to put it beyond, because I had some kids that were still taking it, and I'll write you a pass.
Okay.
Will it get chopped? Will they be stopped?
What will happen is, so they ran into the end of your window, is that correct? Okay. So what will happen, what I think you must have seen when you went to grade was it says completed for that student, correct?
I think they all got it in, but it was,
Okay,
after my
so
first period, I realized I'd better have that window, and when I created the other classes, I always made sure there was extra. But kids asked me what would happen, and I didn't know.
So if they are still taking the test, when the window closes, it says completed, and they cannot do anything else.
Okay.
However, you could say, this kid came into class late. What I'm going to have them do is instead of clicking save and complete, which is what they see, they'll click save and complete later. You will then have the option in the grading screen to say allow student to resume. You will have to open the window again for them,
Right.
but they will be able to do it.
And there is no shortcut to being able for, it's another question of retakes and things like that. You have to recreate it. You have to recreate the window of opportunity for each class and each time. Or is there a way I could have during this time, kids could retake it each day, a quiz, until they finally memorize it or learn the information?
So what I've done with that is when that happens and I'm in the setting the window and when I'm in that screen, usually that happens to me when the kids are in that class. So and that window is at the end of that period. So all I'll do is I'll just click on today down here at the bottom, and it immediately just says that student now has until the end of this period today to complete it. That way they're with you, you know what they're doing, and you would have to do that each time, but instead of having to type in the date and all that stuff, you can just click today and it goes there. Okay. All right, so here's how it will look when you grade it. Or actually, here's these. When I've assigned it, now I'm going to click Save and Back. It now knows, okay, the max score is 1 because I only gave him 1 point. You can change the weight multiplier here. I'll get into that later. Right now, I don't know that there's much of a need for that. I'm going to click Save and Back because now I've got the assignment. What will happen is on a student's screen, you notice have you ever seen their screens where there's a calendar that pops up first? On the left side, there is a little tab that says Online Assignments. It'll say Current Assignments and Past Assignments. The assignments that are current are the ones that are currently in the window of opportunity to take it. Okay? So let me show you what it looks like when you grade. I've got a couple of Spanish 2 classes that I had do this morning. They took a quiz. I haven't done anything with it as far as grading it. I'm going to click on that assignment. I'm going to click over here and say Score Online Assignment. The nice thing about this is that I got the kid's name. It tells me they're all completed. It tells me immediately if you don't do anything with their score, if you don't alter it at all, this is what they're going to get. These 2 kids have a 100. These kids, I'm going to have to actually go and look through theirs. The nice thing about the 100 is I can simply say, Score Online Assignment, Post Score to Gradebook. I'm going to click on this Show Results in Student Access. This is the button you have to click in order for them to see what they've done. I missed that for 3 months and was losing my mind until Jenny told me, yeah, you missed 1 button. Click Save and Close, and now it will show you in here, here's the online score, 21, 100%. Here's the gradebook score. That child can now see in their Skyward that they got a 100% on that. The one other nice thing about this is it will tell me how much time they spent on this. I've got a kid right here, Caleb. I'll just say his name, first name, Caleb. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100 The first quarter, this kid was getting a 40%. He's now playing basketball. The first couple of times when basketball started that he was doing very well on these quizzes, yeah, it was suspicious to me. Today, he finished in 90 seconds or something like that. It's not enough time for him to cheat. He couldn't have. Because there were 21 questions here. He had to type in each word. He couldn't have gone back and forth from the online website that I have for them to study. He wouldn't have had time to do it. So I know he didn't. That's kind of a nice thing about that. Sometimes when I see kids at 20 minutes and then they got like a 90%, I'm going, no, you didn't. So.
Did Caleb get sacked 7 times last week?
I don't think so.
Thanks, George. The first kid, you just made his score available.
Right.
You could have just highlighted the entire page and put everybody available. You have to do it 20 times.
You have to do it individually?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Do you have to do it individually?
Right.
Yes. Because what you're doing is you're scoring each of them individually. You're required to do. I'm required to do that because of the setup. Everything here is short answer. If you did true, false, and multiple choice only, it would immediately go into their grade book and they would be able to see it as soon as they click save and complete assignment.
But if it's short answer, as I was showing you before, and I'm using dollars, and I have 3 or 4 different choices for the answer.
Mm-hmm.
$33 or with or without the dollar sign is correct. Then what's the big deal about having to double check their work if one of their...
So if I click on somebody who didn't get a 100%, and I look at hers, and everything that's correct you'll see here in green. And as I go down, it looks like she got all of this page correct. So I have to go to the next page. I can see in this particular one that all that she did was transpose these 2 letters, O-R and R-O. I want to give her partial credit for that. She's not going to get 1 point, but I'm going to give her half a point. If you watch up here, when I do this, it's going to immediately change her score. So the reason for having to check with short answers is because you're going to look at that and go, they were close. I do need to give them partial credit. So I'm not going to grade all of hers right now, but I think you get the idea that you no longer have to look at the ones that are right. If I can think of all the time I spent looking at a kid's multiple choice, A, B, A, C, D, okay, yeah, that's all right. All that time is now gone. You don't need to do that anymore. So I look back here. I've not graded hers yet completely. I have to first say post score to gradebook. So that's all those kids with short answer. If I want to look at one that's a little different, so I created one that's only 7 questions, but it incorporates all kinds of questions. So I'm going to look at this, this one. And the questions were, what is 3 plus 3? And it was a multiple choice. He got that right. This is in Spanish. How old is Mr. Han? He got that one right. Towards which cardinal direction is the door to Miss Long's room? He got that wrong. Now, if he'd misspelled south, I could have maybe given him partial credit. He's got the wrong answer for the capital of Vermont. But again, this is one of those things where if he had spelled it 1 letter off, maybe I give him partial credit.
But you can also have 4 or 5 different ways of spelling Montpelier.
Absolutely, I could have done that. If I'm willing to give full credit for those only. There's true, false here. And then I've got what an essay looks like on my end. Students should wear uniform to school. Agree or disagree and then support your position. Disagree because wearing the same thing as someone else is lame. What a great answer. Now, it says down here in parentheses 1 point. you could have changed that to say 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever you want, and then it will ask you to put in a score here based on what you've read.
And then your comment would be, that's a lame answer.
That's absolutely, well, and that's the good thing is, you know, when I had that one girl who misspelled just a little bit, I could go, you just transpose the last 2 letters. I can actually write that in the comment in that particular question. At the same time, if I look at this and I want to post it to Gradebook, I could say, you really bombed this. You know, I can write whatever I want in here, show results in student access, and then save and close, and now that's in their screen. That's in their Skyward. I'm not going to do it now. But, so there you go.
It's only because the boss is here.
2 of them. All right, so if I guess we're at a point now, you've seen what pretty much all of this looks like, and I know it's an enormous amount of information. The way that I had been under the impression of this class was that I'd be teaching this 3 times, and you guys would be coming back to me again in the future. You probably didn't read it that way. I'm sure I screwed up in how I was perceiving things. My question to you is that something you're interested in? Going out, giving an assessment, seeing how it works, coming back, we troubleshoot here all together again. If that's something that you want, I'm going to write a list down because Randy needs to know how many people that is. And on your way out, we'll just sign a piece of paper back here.
I've got legal, I've got a petition.
That's perfect. So, if you don't mind me passing that around.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Is there a way that you can create a quiz, some type of assignment where it doesn't count again? It's almost like a practice.
Yes, so
It doesn't count. You can't put 0, I don't want extra credit, but
what I have done with that, and this is something that I do quite a bit, I do a lot of practice tests because I want them to see what it looks like, and I want them to be intimidated when that happens. So the way that this can be done is, and I will look in this class, if I have any of those. So this one was entitled Chapter 7 Final Practice Test. So what I did was, instead of trying to like not make it count, all I did was I changed the weight multiplier to 0.01. And I made it a homework assignment. It now is worth 1/4 of 1 point of their homework assignment. And because they've had enough homework assignments that are worth like 20 points, essentially this means nothing. So you have to assign something in order for them to be able to see it. This negates the impact of it to almost 0. It's a roundabout way, but that's kind of how we get it to go. I've done that with, I've got a math skills class where I'm having them take math ISAT prep, and it's the same thing. I don't want them to be concerned, oh my God, this is going to affect my grade. I'm not really going to do very well. No, it's not going to affect your grade at all because it means almost nothing.
you'll still be able to tell that they got all 5 questions right because it'll be whatever, a different decimal, it'll be.
So it will, as it comes up to them,
They would be able to go and see their score and see what they got right and wrong and know that I missed 4 of the, or I missed 1 of the 5.
everything looks to the same to them. It will show them how many questions there were, how many they got right. The only difference will be when they are looking at their assignment, they will see here like this girl got a 0.02 out of 0.04, which looks awful, but she got a 50%.
Okay.
Well, that's still not great, but in any case.
I know what you mean.
Right, so that's the only thing. It looks weird to them, and I actually did this before the quarter once. So when conference time came, I had kids who had everything was an A, except for the one practice test that we took, and they got like a 40% on it. And the parents were like, oh my God, you got an F? And I was like, whoa, hold on. This was a practice. If you can notice here, it didn't mean anything to their grade. look at what their grade is. It's a 99.7.
Right.
This really had no impact. So I did have to watch that account this time.
What if you just want to give them points for having completed it?
You can do that.
It's a lesser amount or so. It's a
You can,
homework as well as a real quiz.
what you could do in that case is, so let's say I want to do that for these kids. Here's what I'll do. They all got their score. They can all see the results. I can see in the grade book what they did. I'm going to click at the top of that assignment right here where it says homework .04, all that stuff. If you click on a score down here, it goes into your score entry. If you click here and you click mass assigned score, what it will do is it will assume that you want the highest, 4 out of 4. If you then click apply, every student, and it won't work now because I've already graded them, but if you haven't graded them, if you click apply, then all kids will get a 4 out of 4. I know it's not showing up that way, but that's because of the order in which I've done things. They'll get all the points out of it, if that makes sense.
I'll work on
that.
Okay, I see the wheels turning.
You can do that for any assignment, right?
Right.
Mass assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So
And in
whether
fact,
it's
that's how I
10
do almost all of my homework assignments. When I grade something, and if I'm just checking for completion, I assign it, I put it in the grade book, and then what I do is I walk around, I do this mass assigned score, I hit apply, and then only the kids that didn't do it do I have to mess with their score.
Manually
I just
change.
put in, oh, they didn't do it. Oh, they didn't do it. And then I click save, and I'm done. It takes out the step of having to write it down on like a Skyward sheet or something like that. And it's pretty, I mean, the computers are light enough you can carry around with one hand and change with the other.
Mind backing up and doing the one.
Sure.
Where to go.
So,
If you go to the top, you said, right?
yeah, so if I want to do that, I got to click on here, mass assigned score, and I don't know if this will let me do that either. If I click apply, it will apply to all of the ones that have an asterisk. So if I click that now, it says, oh, okay, everybody gets a 7. But then what I'll do is I'll walk around and go, well, you didn't do it, so you, for now, get a 0. I can click over here, click late.
Mark, is that only for things that were created on this Skyward, or could it be for any
No,
assignment?
no, no. For any assignment, you can do that score or mass assigned score. Okay. All right. I don't want to give short shrift to the messaging because some of you, that may be why you're here. I want to show a little bit about that. It's also a pretty simple thing. Let me get out of this. I'm going to go back to the home page. If you're in here in the home page, you'll notice by my name up at the top here, I've got an exclamation point. What that means is a child or a parent has sent a message to me either through their email account or through Skyward, one of the two. I need to look at that. I don't want to do that part yet because if you haven't sent one out, you would never necessarily get one back. The way to get to that, you can go into, I usually go into my classes, click on class options, and go to message center. Additionally, if you're in my grade book, if you're looking here and you go, man, these kids are doing terribly on this thing, I'm going to go over and tell their parents. If you go to other access and click message center, it will bring you to the same place. So what I'm going to say is, hey, you all have a test. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to actually say add message for multiple classes. I'm going to give a little summary. So I'm going to say quiz Thursday. And actually, I'll probably write one for my 7th grade class right now. You write whatever you want. On Thursday, 7th graders will have a quiz on possessive adjectives. Your priority you can just leave alone. It's not really going to change anything. If you come down here, I always click on this only post for students currently enrolled in selected classes. What I think that is doing is if you have a child who you had in your class and then they dropped, if you leave this unchecked, they'll get the message too. And they'll probably look at it and go, why am I getting messages from Mr. Hahn? I'm not in his class anymore. So you do want to check that. Leave these checked. Post to family access, post to student access. I always check post by email to parents, post by email to students. I've got 105 kids and I do at least one of these every week and I get an average of 4 responses back a week. So it's okay if you're posting your email address, you're not going to get flooded probably. So don't sweat that. You can put post to calendar. I've done that in the past. What that does is on their Skyward calendar, something shows up there. The issue that I found with this is that it is limiting in the number of characters you can use. You can't get real specific on what it is you're going to have. We've kind of solved that using iCal, but that's another story. So I'm going to leave that alone. If you go down here and then you say, okay, email. I want to send this as an email. It's always going to, for some reason, default to a half hour from now. Not sure why it does it. You can change that and say, no, I'd actually like it to be at 3:15. You can tell it to wait until 8 p.m. if you'd like to. I always, again, only send email to students currently enrolled, email to students, email to guardians. If you want everybody that is listed with an email address for that student to receive it, leave all of this unchecked. It will just say, send it to everybody. If you start checking any of these, it only will send it to that particular one that you have checked. I always leave this checked, display additional details in the email body. It says what the class is, it says when we have it, and it says my name. At the bottom here, you can then select which classes do I actually want to see this. It defaults to the class that I originally came from in the grade book. I started this message and I realized I actually don't want them to see this. I'm going to uncheck them. I'm going to check first period. I could send this to all of them if I wanted, but it's only pertinent to the one class. But you can send this to as many common classes. A lot of times I'm sending to this class, and this class. When you do that, when you've got everything in here the way you want it, you click Save. Save essentially, for our purposes, means send. Okay? I don't want to send this, so I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to show you what it kind of looks like at the beginning at the home page. So once I've sent something, sometimes I get this yellow alert. It's good to look at this in the morning, especially when you first log in, when you're maybe doing attendance or something like that. Somebody's maybe emailed me overnight. I haven't looked at this, so I don't know what they're going to be asking me. Let's see. It will show you which one of these has an unread message over here. This is the unread one. So I'm going to click on the plus here. And some kid wanted to send me a YouTube link because he thought it was funny. So he sent that to me. At this point now, I need to click Mark as Read. And now I'm not going to have that exclamation point anymore. If I want to respond, all I got to do is click here, respond to this message. It'll load up. When the internet works. And I'll just write, thanks. I'll click Save, and now it's done. This is a kind of a nice way to communicate with your students about like retakes. I know I had a girl who was like, hey, I'd like to retake this. She's kind of shy. She didn't want to talk to me in front of the other students. She's able to do that. It kind of works well that way. I know that's an enormous amount of information in an hour. Did the sheet go around of people that would like to continue? My feelings aren't going to be hurt if you don't come back. Okay. Is there anybody in this room that did not receive my email yesterday about bringing an assessment here? Because I want to make sure I include you when I'm going to send out the link to this video recording. Okay. So you can have, thank you, 10 more minutes if you'd like to kind of work on this. There are things I have to get out to you and back from you. If you have questions, please ask me now. I'll be up and running around. Okay, I'll let you work, and then I'll try and get these things out to you as well. Okay. I know I have ESPs that need timesheets. I don't know what everybody else.
Did they leave? Oh,
They left before they had any time sheet, because they left email, additional.
I'm glad you're here.
Quick question.
Sure.
You're making a quiz. I'm not sure when I want to give the quiz. Do I just assign an arbitrary day?
If you just make it,
Like it already defaulted to like today's, or says the 7th. Yeah, so.
what I would say is don't assign it. You've created it, right? It still
All right,
exists.
yeah, that's right. I was just showing her the steps.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're right. So I just want to delete because I don't know when.
I would say, yeah, just click back or whatever and
Just wait
go
until you're ever
because
to
you don't
stick it
know
in.
when you want to do it. It's
Right.
there in your bank,
That's
and then when
right.
you want to,
Right.
you're good to go. Very afraid.
Oh, okay.
And then they can write that here.
Does anyone know where there's a copier in the building? A copier.
Yes.
The reason I ask is they didn't give me enough of these CPDUs or the.
How many do we need?
We need, I think, a total of. We have
Can I send it to all my questions?
Yes.
Like a hard copy.
Oh, of all the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, watching you on screen for 30, 40, 50 minutes is fine, but
Right.
here's, that's one question. Over here. Okay, no one quiz. You guys are multiple answers
Everybody's going to There's a parent meeting, so everybody else is going to be in the lounge, and then the parent meeting's in the house. Friday, we're at church.
If you get all the stuff. Okay, so when I put down assignment number 1 is to reduce the size number 1.
I've never had to do this, but I think that might be a way. So
Well, my next step is what?
let me troubleshoot up here. Here, Rich, here.
As a first timer doing this, I would recommend true false multiple choice as your first test. Because it's probably the easiest one to put through.
Probably. I had done short answer with even my written stuff forever, so that's why I forced myself into that, but that's probably the easiest way to go. Thank you so much. Can I start these coming around this way? Okay, so if I have that in my home page,
my ex-wife and my Hi, John.
Okay, so here's where you can do it. When you go to actually assign it, have you,
No, I went as far as that. And
okay, so you know when you're in your normal, when it's not a test or anything like that, and you're assigning a score, and it gives you a max score, it usually tends to, I think it defaults to 20 points or something like that. When we do an online assignment, it grays this out. In the past, you would not be able to change it at all. Now what you can do, you want your max score to be 50, correct? So you would change the max score and say, okay, well, I want it to be less than this. I mean, like I'm not going to, I'll fix this later, but so I would click Update Student Scores. And then if I click Save, if I look at this now, and I'm back in the main screen, this child now has as his score, he has a 21 out of 20. I can look at, I've never run into this, so I'm going to actually go in and look at what his grade book looks like, and see how that looks in my class. He got a 105. So yeah, it will do that for you. The trick is to change that max score to whatever you want it to be, but then if they're getting those bonuses, they can go above and beyond that.
The hard copy, you're going to be able to give us
I don't really have any of that kind of sources. There exists tutorials on Skyward to do that, and you can find that.
Somebody like you who speaks our language, and
but it's written tutorials. Thank you. I'll throw them in here. I will put the evaluation folder right up here. Anybody not